Tom, are you okay?
I lost her.
Her?
She was going to be this epic, trilogy-worthy character. I was going to be the hottest writer in Hollywood. But I can't get past Act 1!
You need some writers group therapy. Hello, and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers. Are you ready for your session? The doctors are in. Well, rejection's never fun. In life, in love, in your career, whatever.
I've had my share of all of those.
I think we all have. We all have. Like, to live is to be rejected on some level or another, right?
Yes. And to be a writer and be rejected is normal and frequent.
Very normal. Anything in the entertainment industry, I think you will get rejected, like 99% of the time?
Yeah, you hear the stories of, famous actors, almost quitting and moving away, or, after 8 years, finally getting their big break or whatever it was. And we've had our share of successes this year with the festivals we've been in, but, for every festival I think we got our films into, we probably had 2 or 3 that said no.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
You get those emails and it's like, you did a great job, but we weren't able to include you in our festival.
Ugh,
and then I usually send those to you with like a frowny face or something.
Yeah, and then I just delete them because I'm like, I don't even want to know.
Yeah,
I don't even want to know.
Kind of stopped sending you some of them, so.
So then that begs the question, when you do get those rejection letters, how do you handle it?
Well, most of them, I realize that, the film festival world is very subjective. There's a lot of reasons why a film would be rejected. It could be anything from, the theme of your film doesn't match the theme of the festival. It could be, if you're in like our films are sci-fi and horror, if you're entering a generic, kind of general film festival, they may not be programming for genre films. So, I kind of like, brush those kind of potential, reasons off. If it's a festival I really wanted to get into, especially if it had a big fee, then I get a little more like, why didn't I get into that one? And there's really nothing you can do about that when it comes to that kind of stuff. And the same thing with writing contests,
Mm-hmm.
You're going up against a lot of people.
Yeah. It's interesting. I found out, so as I mentioned in another episode, I was kind of like in the finalist, I guess, category for a diversity showcase. And I ultimately got rejected for it. First of all, that was farther than I'd ever gotten before. But also, I found out, I think they only used maybe like 5 sketches in New York and like 3 sketches in Los Angeles. So depending on how many people had submitted, my number, it wasn't a really good, they weren't really good odds, is what I'm trying to say. So I was like, wow, only 3 people in Los Angeles. That's it. That's all the sketches you used. Ouch. I was up against some pretty stiff competition then, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and nobody you submit to, regardless of whether you pay an entrance fee or not, owes you anything or is required to put your film in their festival. That's just the way it is. So I don't ever expect to be, accepted to a festival. When I am, I'm very honored and humbled by it. And then to win awards, wow, that just blows my mind generally.
it's like icing
on the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you do have to have, kind of a little thick skin in this business because it's not an easy one. I've been at this for, I moved to LA 6 years ago, so.
Yeah, 8 years for me. But this is probably, I think, the first year I've really attacked it as a writer versus being an actor. But especially as an actor, you definitely have to have a thick skin. And I think, as actors, as writers, as creatives, we get rejected so much. So there are definitely things that you can do to help the process when you get a rejection, because you will get a rejection. And I think the first thing is knowing you will get rejected. So it's not a surprise when somebody says no. But sometimes, all you need is one yes. So you just have to keep trucking.
Yeah, I had a friend recommend me to a manager he knew. He said you should talk to this guy who used to work for a big agency and send him your stuff. And I did, and then I sent him a script I wrote, and he sent me back notes, or we actually talked on the phone, I think, a couple of times. And I took his notes, and then I did a rewrite, based on his notes. And I didn't agree with all of them, but I did my best, and the things I didn't agree with, I tried to kind of like, explain or kind of ask more questions about to try to understand what he wanted me to do. And then I sent him, the rewrite. And then for, I mean, a year at least, I never heard back from him. I would follow up, hey, did you have a chance to read that? And he never did. And then I kind of just gave up on it. And then my friend said, oh, you should send him another message. And you kind of do this back and forth for a while. And then I find out he had texted my friend that he actually didn't think I was a very good writer. So that
Ouch.
was kind of a big gut punch. And actually, my friend asked him if it was okay to show me this. So he didn't show it to me without asking the manager first. And it
Yeah.
was, it was a little harsh, but I read his comments and he said stuff like I should read more scripts and I should be more open to feedback and working on rewrites, which I think I really am. Actually, I do tons of rewrites. So I don't know if it was all justified or not, but he did suggest to read more scripts, and I did. I started doing that. I've been trying to read a script a week at least, and I start to see what he's talking about. I think it's helping. If even if you get rejected, if you can get feedback, and we know all the screenwriting contests offer you feedback sometimes, then you can learn from that, and you can move ahead and grow more.
Hmm.
So you get knocked down, you get back up, and you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. And I think also, and I learned this one from songwriting, you have to, yes, you are writing something or creating something, and it's a very personal story or song or whatever. But you have to ultimately realize if you're going to put it in the public marketplace, you need to distance yourself from your work. And it's not a rejection of you, and they're not saying you suck as a writer. They're just saying for whatever reason that particular piece is not resonating, and maybe they'll give you reasons or not. It's interesting, when I was beginning as a songwriter, I used to hold on to my songs so tightly because it was like, oh, this is my art, and all that stupid stuff. And then working with the guys in Nashville, like, it's an art, but it's a business. And so I learned to release my work a little bit more. So now when I get rejected as a writer doing writing scripts, I'm like, okay, what can I do to improve? But it's okay because I don't hold on to it so tightly and say, this is it. This is the great American whatever. You know what I mean? It's when you hold on to it too tightly and you can't take notes and you can't take direction. That's when you run into a problem.
Right. And in my case, the the feedback from the manager, it didn't change how I viewed myself as a writer, really. And I've gotten, I want to say validation from all these other contests my stuff have been in and some other managers I've spoken to. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt too, because it's a very subjective world out here in the arts world. And not everyone's going to like you. But at the same time, I find people in Hollywood actually are a little more constructive than people might give them credit for. If you ask someone, well, I know I'm not there yet, but what do you think I could do to improve? You can, get some feedback and get some, guidance on what to do. And we talked about this before. I think when we talked about building your team and are you ready to be a professional writer? Those kinds of sessions, we've talked about this. So I think just knowing, that you have, some ability and you're willing to work hard at it, you can get to the next level.
Yeah. And I think also, don't rely on just one project. Have many irons in the fire if possible, right? You're only as good as your last piece of work. So just keep writing, have a library of scripts, have a portfolio of work to show people, keep adding to it, and just keep moving forward with it. Somebody might not like your thriller, but then the next person loves it. You don't know.
Yeah, and even go back and read your earlier projects too, because sometimes you finish stuff and then you set it aside, it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm actually going back through some older stuff now, because I'm kind of brushing some stuff off for submitting and stuff like that. And I'm seeing where, oh, I could have done this better, and I'm polishing things a little bit more. And as we keep writing, we keep learning and getting better. And you do need to go back and revisit the work you did before, because it might have seemed really great to you when you finished writing it back then, but maybe now you've learned more and you can improve on it. And so the next time you show it to someone, they're more impressed.
Definitely. So, how about for all of you? How do you handle rejection? I know for me, sometimes I just need a piece of chocolate. Chocolate solves all my woes. Tom, do you have, what is it for you? Coffee?
Oh no, unfortunately I can't have any caffeine these days, so I'm an old man. But I can always go for some froyo,
Okay.
happy froyo time.
So, froyo for Tom, chocolate for me. That's how we handle rejection in a brief moment. Or you can adopt these long-term strategies, either one. But let us know how you handle rejection at WG Therapy. You can also find us online at writersgrouptherapy.com. And if you like what you hear, subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll see you next week.